Milk gives tired men new energy. That was a famous advertising slogan from the 1950s, at least in Germany. And many people, at least in Germany, still remember it today. And it definitely helped shape milk's positive image. For decades, milk stood for strong bones and good health. But in recent years, more and more doubts have appeared. Suddenly, milk's reputation started to change. Sometimes even completely. And I regularly get questions from concerned viewers asking, is milk actually healthy or should I avoid it? And that's why today's video exists. I want to make one important distinction right away. Milk itself is not the same as fermented dairy products like yogurt or kefir. The difference here really matters a lot when we talk about the health effects and the health benefits. So let's get into it right after a quick intro. My name is Dr. Fabian Mutach. I hold a PhD in biochemistry. I'm a German scientist and founder of Fermented, a company that is dedicated to close the knowledge gap between science and your daily nutrition. And if you're interested in high-quality, science-based nutrition facts, then do not hesitate to subscribe to this channel. And for many decades, milk and dairy products had an excellent reputation, especially thanks to advertising. And honestly, if we look at the nutrients, milk does offer some impressive benefits. First, we have the protein. Milk contains high-quality protein with a complete amino acid profile. Protein helps maintain muscle mass and supports many essential functions and processes in the body. Milk also provides energy, a lot of energy. A large glass of whole milk contains more calories than a typical granola bar and usually less sugar, which again is positive, because that means your blood sugar levels stay more stable. And of course, there's the calcium. Milk is a very good calcium source. And calcium is essential for bone health, but also plays an important role, for example, in nerve signaling and muscle function. So far, so good. But not everything that shines is gold. In recent years, milk's positive image has started to get some cracks. Some studies have linked high milk consumption to certain cancers. And there is now fairly solid evidence suggesting a connection between very high milk intake and an increased risk of prostate cancer. However, this association mainly appears at higher consumption levels, roughly 1 liter of milk per day or more. So you need to drink quite a lot. Interestingly, it doesn't seem to matter whether the milk is low fat or full fat. Some studies have also suggested a possible link between milk consumption and breast cancer risk. For example, a long-term study involving a Seventh-day Adventist community in the United States, that is a group that is known generally for their healthy lifestyle, followed participants for more than 8 years. And women who drank more than a cup of milk per day showed about 50% higher relative risk of developing breast cancer. And that sounds dramatic at first, 50%. But remember, relative risk and absolute risk are very different things. Since not every woman develops breast cancer during their life, the absolute increase in risk is much smaller, and that's good news. And also, other studies have not found this association at all. But still, it's worth noting that breast cancer rates are significantly lower in many Asian countries where milk consumption is also much lower. Of course, that's not a proof that milk is the cause, but it's definitely an interesting observation. Milk has also been discussed as a possible contributor to diabetes. So far, however, strong scientific evidence, or basically any scientific evidence, supporting that claim is lacking. So, where could these possible health effects come from? That's the next question we need to ask. And besides nutrients and minerals, milk also contains growth factors and tiny molecules called microRNAs. And these substances activate a biological signaling pathway known as mTORC1. You don't need to remember the name. What really matters is what it does in the body. It stimulates growth processes in the body, while at the same time reducing a process called autophagy. Autophagy is the cell's natural cleanup and recycling system. For calves drinking cow's milk or babies drinking breast milk, that's perfect. Milk is designed to promote growth and development. But once we are fully grown, continuously consuming something that is made for babies, for example, and consuming all those growth signals may not be ideal, especially in large amounts over extended periods of time. Interestingly, in many parts of the world, adults traditionally don't drink milk at all. Many Asian populations, for example, are lactose intolerant. They simply cannot digest lactose properly. So far now, we've talked only about milk itself. But what about now fermented dairy products? To understand that, we need to look at fermentation. During fermentation, bacteria and yeasts use lactose, milk sugar, as their food. They convert it into lactic acid. And that's why these foods are called lactic acid fermented. Two important things happen during this process, and that's now very important to understand, also to understand the difference between milk and fermented milk products. So first, lactose is broken down, making the product easier to digest. Second, many growth factors are reduced or degraded. At the same time, beneficial compounds are formed, including lactic acid and short-chain fatty acids. And these substances support gut health, and they have effects far beyond the intestine. Short-chain fatty acids, for example, are important regulators of our immune system. And the health benefits of fermented foods are now strongly supported also by modern scientific research. Interestingly, in traditional cultures, it was known long before science confirmed it. In the Caucasus region, for example, kefir, which is a thick fermented milk drink, is often called the drink of the 100-year-olds. So let's summarize. Milk is undoubtedly a nutrient-dense food. The relationship between milk consumption and chronic diseases is still actively debated in both directions. What we do know, milk contains growth signals, and it's reasonable to question whether adults should consume these signals regularly and in large quantities. Personally, I don't drink large amounts of milk or consume it regularly. Fermented dairy products are a different story, an entirely different story. During fermentation, lactose and growth factors are reduced while beneficial acids and live bacterial cultures are created. And that's why I clearly separate milk from fermented dairy and personally give fermented products the advantage. So I hope this video helped to bring some clarity to the confusing discussion around milk and dairy products. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again in the next video. Take care. I'm out for now. Thank you and bye-bye.